Hey guys, what's up? So in this particular course, we'll be covering all the NCERTs from class 6 to class 12th, and I will be covering all the relevant portions which is important for the point of view of various government examinations like UPSC Civil Services Examination, etc. In this one, I'll be telling about the introduction and the chapter 1 and 2. This is presented by me, Saini. And if you feel like these courses are helping in any way, do leave a voluntary contribution fee by clicking on the contribute button below the video, and you can follow me on unacademy.in/user/Roman Saini for all the lessons which I make. See, the first thing which people have in mind when they are reading 6th class NCERT is that we are not that bad also, Roman, that we need to study class 6th. Class 6th NCERT is read by 10-year student, 9-year student. We are not that bad also. We know science, okay? Second argument is my cousin is 15 years younger to me, even half my age, not even half my age. And he's reading this, so it's like really bad and embarrassing on our part to read class 6 NCERT. Well, you have to. And the Hindi argument is तू अब छठी क्लास पढ़ाएगा मैं इतना बड़ा हो गया तू अब हाँ. But all these arguments are futile because people don't know class 6 NCERT. You remember that show क्या आप पांचवी पास से तेज है? Same things goes here. UPSC test you on these things and you don't know the answer. So my answer is why to start from class 6 NCERT is that it is very easy to understand. Okay, like for those, especially or those who have arts or humanities as a background, they have not touched science for last 6-7 years, and so it is always good to start from the basics as a 10-year-old kid would do. Now most of you are seriously ill-informed about basic science facts. People don't know what is like the origin of mirage in desert, why diamonds sparkle, why rainbow formation happens, but all the three have exactly the same reason, that is total internal reflection, and these are the type of questions which is asked in the UPSC exam. Since you lack this basic scientific fact information and you are not equipped to deal with the questions, that is why you will never be able to get good marks either in prelims or mains. Third point, UPSC asks direct questions from 6th to 12th class NCERTs which are not available anywhere else, and even if they are covered in thick manuals, then there is absolutely no point in reading them, because the cost benefit analysis if you do, then those for manuals, it will be really bad because you have to read 1500 pages to get 10 questions correct, but here you will just read one small NCERT and you will get those questions correct. Now point fourth, nobody is stopping you from reading higher level stuff, okay? You can read whatever you want, whichever manual, whichever coaching notes, whichever class notes you need, but please do not ignore this. This is an humble request from my end. First do this and then whatever you want to do. If you are so good as you are claiming, then why are you afraid? It will just take you like half an hour to finish this. Now it will form the foundation of your preparation again, and I'm telling you, without good science and tech preparation, you cannot hope to get a good rank or even to clear prelims. And the most biggest reason is whenever you're writing an essay or whenever you're writing a mains type answer, there are certain keywords and summaries which an examiner looks in the answer. If they are present, you will get good marks. If they are absent, you will not get anything. Okay, so keywords and summary, NCERT is full of them, and if you are a scavenger or a hunter, you will find a lot of keywords and summary. Okay, we'll start with class 6 NCERT. It is one of my favorite books. It is 16 chapters. And I have read it a lot of times, like 5-10 times, but I studied it again just to practice what I preach. For example, if a doctor is obese and he is suggesting you dieting, or if a doctor is an alcoholic or he smokes a lot of cigarettes and he works in a de-addiction center, so it looks a bit of a hypocrisy that you yourself are not doing it. So yes, I read it once again, and it has extremely user-friendly language. They know that the people who are reading it is just 9, 10, 11-year-old. And because the first timers you can spend even 1 or 2 weeks reading this, so you just need to watch this course and I will cover everything relevant in the book, which otherwise would have taken you days or even weeks. Cool. So this is the chapter classification in biology, like food, where does it come from, components of food, getting to know food, living organisms and their surrounding body movement. In physics, it is motion and measurement of distances, light, shadows and reflections, electricity and circuits, fun with magnets, and in chemistry, it is fiber to fabric, water, air around us, garbage in, garbage out, sorting materials into group, separation of substances and changes around us. So I'll be covering in this course 6th and 7th class NCERT, and in next course we'll be targeting 8th and 9th. Chapter 1 and 2, like it deals with food, sources and component. Okay, the food variety is like ingredients is what is like food is made up of. Edible means anything which you can eat. Sources of food can be plants and animals, for example veg and non-veg. Like dry seeds can also be eaten. Sprouts are basically when seeds germinate. Whenever you keep them in water, there is some whitish growth. That is germination. Nectar is basically, it is available in flowers where honeybee and other insects can take it out and form honey and stuff like that. Herbivores are those animals like cow, goat, etc., which solely feed on plant produce. Carnivores are those which feeds on animal, for example lion, tiger. And omnivores are like human, bear, who like bear eats honey also, bear eats fish also, human eats honey also, human eats fish also. So we are omnivores. We eat the plants and animals both. Now nutrients are basically carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals. Carbohydrates are basically starch plus sugar. Sugar is simple carbohydrate, starch is complex carbohydrate. Starch will include when it breaks down, it converts into sugar and it provides energy. Proteins are basically bodybuilding material, or all the muscles will be built by proteins. Fats is basically, it is used for insulation, long term storage and absorption of fat soluble vitamins. Vitamins include A, B, C, D, E, K. I'll be talking about them later. And minerals include calcium, iodine, iron and all those. And dietary fibers we'll be talking about later. And water obviously is used for absorption of everything, and it is the basis of life. Now various tests, if you want to test whether starch is present or not, if you mix iodine, it produces blue black color, so they may ask you in the prelims. Then proteins combined with copper sulfate combined with caustic soda, it gives a violet color. Okay, now if fat is used with if you crush the fatty food like chips or anything, it will develop an oily patch, and the paper which was opaque will become translucent, so it will allow passing of light. Now carbs give you a lot of energy, fat gives much more energy. I'll just write these, I will not write the exact number. And proteins are the bodybuilding material. Vitamins I have already spoken. They are required for proper growth of the body and to maintain good health. Include A, B, C, D, E, K. And vitamin A is basically for our skin and eyes health. Vitamin C helps body to fight against many diseases. Vitamin D is obviously for calcium, bones and teeth. Now dietary fibers are roughages. Whenever you feel that crunch sound if you bite an apple or a guava, that is roughage. Now plants will include like whole grains, pulses, vegetables, fresh fruits. They are the source of roughages. They don't provide any energy as such, but they provide bulk so that your stool is good, your bowel movements are good. They get rid of undigested food, they combine with toxins and they prevent cancers. They are an essential component of the food, and they also do not allow you to gain weight. Water is basically for absorbing nutrients, excreting waste from the body like urine and sweat. Source of water is obviously water, milk, tea, any liquid based diet, juice, whatever. Food also has a lot of water because vegetables are made of it. And metabolic byproduct, because of various reactions in the body, water comes out. Now balanced diet, everybody knows, combination of food, all nutrients, roughages, water, body needs it in right quantity, neither too little nor too much, for growth, maintenance and good health. Basic science like don't peel, don't wash too much, don't overcook. They ask that vitamin C get destroyed by cooking, so please remember this. And don't take too much fat in diet, otherwise you'll become obese. And lack of a particular nutrient in the food can cause deficiency diseases. For example, lack of protein over a period of time can lead to kwashiorkor, where children have edema. And if there is protein plus energy malnutrition, it leads to marasmus, where person is really dead looking. It leads to stunted growth, swelling of the face, discoloration of hair, skin diseases and diarrhea. And prevention of deficiency disease, you need to take a balanced diet for the same. For example, vitamin A leads to loss of vision, and the symptoms include poor vision, loss of vision and darkness, and these are the main sources. Vitamin B1 deficiency leads to beriberi, and it leads to weak muscles and very little energy to work. Source is liver. Vitamin C is scurvy, all the citrus fruit like lemon, orange, amla. Otherwise, it leads to bleeding gums and wounds take long time to heal. Vitamin D deficiency causes rickets in children and osteomalacia in adults. Bones become softer and bent. The main sources include milk, butter, egg, fish oil. And calcium is obviously for bone and tooth decay. These are the main sources, everybody knows, milk and dairy. Iodine deficiency causes goiter and glands in the neck swell, you must have seen, and it also leads to mental disability in children. The main sources are seafood, seaweeds, algae, and organic yogurt, cranberry. Iron, obviously anemia, and its deficiency leads to weakness and anemia. And the main sources are egg, liver, meat, and dried beans. So I hope this lesson was good. We will continue our discussion in the next lesson. Thank you for watching this lesson. Have an awesome day. Guys, what's up? So in this particular lesson, we will be talking about chapter 3 to 7 of class 6 science NCERT part 2. This is presented by me, Roman Saini. Okay, and you can leave a contribute fee if you feel that these courses are helping in any way, and you can follow me on Unacademy on unacademy.in/user/Roman Saini. So the one line of advice which I want to give all of you is that be brilliant with the basics, cover the basics first, and rest all will follow later on. So if you're not good with basics, nothing will materialize. See, first of all, we'll deal with chapter 3, fiber to fabric. So what is a fiber? Fiber is the single thin strand, okay, it is a single unit. When you are spin it together, when fibers are spinned together, they form what is called as yarn. And when yarn is weaved together or it is knitted together, it leads to form of fabric. Fabric is what is your clothes are made up of. Now fiber can be of two types, either natural fibers or synthetic fibers. Synthetic fibers includes polyesters, nylons, while natural fibers include cotton, which is obtained from cotton plant, jute, which is obtained from jute plant, wool is obtained from, let's say, rabbit, yak, camel, sheep, goat, silk is obtained from silkworms, cocoon, okay, and synthetic I've already spoken about. So single fibers, a single fiber, and these are the thin strands which constitute together to form what is called as yarn. This process is called as spinning. Now yarn can be pulled, okay, this is a single thread. Now spinning of this leads to formation of yarns from fibers, and you can use takli or charkha for the same. Now yarns are converted into fabric either using weaving or looms in sari industry and knitting. The mothers and like elderly women, they used to knit sweaters and all in the houses. Now cotton balls are basically they are not balls, they are bowls. They are small bowls from which burst out and seeds along with the cotton fibers come out, and now they can be separated either using the machine or hand. Now this process is called as ginning of cotton balls. Okay, this is very important. Ginning is separation of seeds with the cotton fibers. Now jute, 90% of the world's jute is produced in West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, Bangladesh, that is eastern part. Okay, now it is obtained from the stem, and they ask like why jute industry needs to be near water or river. This is because jute stem needs to be immersed in water for a few days, then rotting of stem happens, and finally fibers are separated. So clothing in ancient times used to be with leaves, twigs, vines, animal fleece or hair. They were twisted together into long strands, and like for example flax was used in the Nile river region for today's Egypt, Sudan, etc. So as I was already spoken, fiber is a single unit which underwent spinning to form yarns, and these yarns undergo weaving and knitting together to form what is called as a fabric. Now chapter 4 deals with sorting materials into groups where one object can be part of one or many materials, okay, and similarly one material can form many objects. For example, the same iron can form roof also, same iron can form cars also, okay, and one object can be made up of one or one material. For example, steel is made up of iron also, it has a bit of carbon also, magnesium, there are a lot of alloys. Okay, now why do we group them? Because it helps in systematic arrangement and better study and analysis, etc. So for example, why metals are called metals? Because they have like three characteristic feature. They have luster, they can be beaten into sheets, okay, ducts can be made out of them, they are ductile, they are malleable, they have luster, they have ringing noise. So all these are the features of metals. Like luster means like luster is gentle sheen or soft glow, and they also rust when there is air on water. Specifically rusting happens with iron, and to protect that we coat with it zinc, that is called as galvanization. Now whether the material is hard or soft, it can be determined by Mohs scale of mineral hardness, which is like 1 is the softest material, 10 is the hardest, that is diamond. Okay, we scratch each other. For example, like nobody can scratch diamond, like no material out of these can produce scratch on diamond, but 10 can scratch 9, 9 can scratch 8, 7 can scratch 6, etc. You just remember this table, it helps a lot. So first is talc, then gypsum, then calcite, then fluoride, then apatite, then orthoclase, then quartz, then topaz, then corundum, and finally diamond. So these 10 should be remembered in this particular order. Questions are asked from this. Then whether it is soluble or insoluble, transparent or translucent, that also you need to figure out. Okay. So next is chapter 5, that is separation of substances. Basically we have impurities and we have the material which we need to separate it from. So what we do is like we try to make it purer, free of impurities, and make it fitter for use. We can use hand picking for slightly larger impurities, like when we cook. So we separate some pulses from the material which we are not supposed to eat. We can separate grains from stalks, etc. We can use the process of threshing. So threshing is basically we beat out the grains, and so the grains will fall out and stalk will remain. When we use winnowing is like basically we use wind for the process. So what happens is like we keep it in the tray on our head, and when we drop the grains on the floor, the impurities along with the wind will go away and settle somewhere else, while seeds will fall straight through the gravity. Okay, so heavy grain particles will fall, lighter particles are blown away. Sieving is basically like you form some small holes, so the impurities which are small or big enough, so the smaller particles, whatever it is, it will pass through the hole, and the larger particles will be retained. This is called sieving. Now let's say you take water and a solution and you mix the impure mixture in that. So the heavier component in the mixture will settle down. Okay, what you want actually, while the impurities and the froth, they will accumulate on the top. So removal of waters and impurities, it is called as decantation, while the heavier component which settles down, it is called as sedimentation. Okay. And finally you can also use filtration, where you use a filter paper, and when they are passing through the strainer, filters have pores which are smaller than the impurities. Okay, so this is as simple as that. So when the filter has small pores which is smaller than the impurities itself, so chemistry lab you must have seen that. So like all the impurities, they are settled down, while the pure chemical or mixture goes down. Evaporation is basically water is converted into vapor. It happens at all the temperature continuously whenever water is present. Now process of conversion of vapor into liquid is called as condensation. All these processes can be used, and when no more solute can be dissolved in a solution, it becomes saturated. That is why it is called as saturated solution. Now saturation obviously will vary from solute to solute and solution to solution. Certain solution will saturate early, certain will go late, etc. For example, if you put sugar in water, it cannot be dissolved after a certain point of time. Okay, but if the temperature is increased, then more sugar can be dissolved, and if you cool it down, the sugar will come out of the water. This is called as precipitating out. Okay, so lemonade is prepared by mixing lemon juice and sugar in water. You wish to add ice to cool it. Should you add ice to lemonade before or after dissolving sugar? Obviously after dissolving sugar, because when the water is cold, so the sugar might precipitate out and it will not dissolve. Now changes around us, it can be a reversible change. A reversible change, basically basic principle is heat will make matter expand while cooling will contract it. Now physical changes can be reversed using physical means only. Exception is obviously alloys and like evaporation, condensation, sublimation, desublimation, or deposition. Now chemical changes are usually not reversible using physical means alone. For example, if cement is hardened or egg is boiled, it is a chemical change. So you cannot just cool the egg and it will become like the original one. For example, formation of POP, rusting of iron, all these are chemical changes. This lesson is very introductory towards the plants. So basically plants is made up of stem, branches, roots, leaf, flowers. Herbs are green tender stems without many branches. Shrubs are hard stem which are branching out near the base. Trees are obviously trees. Creepers are those plants which are spread on the ground, while climbers are those which take support and rise high. Okay, epiphytes. Now stem is conducting water, minerals and nutrients. Just remember xylem is water and phloem is food. There is O in phloem and food. Leaf, I'll tell you, like petiole is the part which is attaching to branch. Lamina is the broad green. Midrib is the thick vein. Leaf venations are basically lines from the midrib which is going reticulate and dicots. Dicots are those plants which are dicotyledons. Example magnolia, ficus, china rose, coriander. Just remember these example might be asked, and it is parallel in monocots. Example grass, banana, wheat and maize. So this is what is called as the petiole. This entire thing here is lamina. This is called as midrib, and these are venations, and this is a reticulate leaf. Now transpiration is basically water coming out from leaves through evaporation. It helps in the absorption of water. Photosynthesis is food making using chlorophyll, water and carbon dioxide. Oxygen and starch are the output. Root is helpful in absorption, anchoring, holding. There are tap and lateral roots and fibrous roots. And when majority of the plant food is stored in fruits, they become edible. Example carrot, radish, sweet potato, turnip and tapioca. Now just remember, petals are prominent while sepals are shy. Birds leaf-like structure. Stamens and male and anther and filament, they are male organs, while pistil is female. Stigma, style and ovary containing ovules. Tap roots are present in reticulate venation and fibrous roots in parallel venation. And herbarium is a collection of leaves in a book. Just remember the answer to this may or may not be true. and this is the diagram for petal and sepal. Thank you for watching this lesson. Hey guys, what's up? In this particular lesson I'll be talking about body movements, which is chapter 8 of class 6 NCERT. This is the part 3 in the series. This is presented by me, Dr. Saini, and I will try to tell you the basic principles so that you will be able to solve questions which appear in the exam. If you feel these courses are helping in any way, do leave, just click on the contribute button and you can leave a voluntary fee, and it will help us in bringing more and more awesome courses. You can also follow me on Unacademy on unacademy.in/user/Saini. So I'll just like one line: be brilliant with the basics and rest everything else will follow. You don't need to do anything else, just focus on your fundamentals. And always focus on keywords and summary, because these are the important things which will take you to places, and if you focus on them you will be able to do well in prelims, mains, interview throughout your life. Now body movements, there are various type of body movements. I'll just talk about the basic important points. You can run, you can fly, you can jump. So these are very common to animals and us. Creep, crawling, slither, they are very common to insects and reptiles. Okay. Swimming is common to fishes and all the aquatic animals, including certain mammals. And walking is obviously us. Joints, like what is joints? Joints is basically an articulation between bones, cartilage and tendons. Now what is a tendon? Tendon is something which connects muscle to a bone so that movement can happen. You can feel in your biceps, in your elbow, you can feel the biceps tendon. Now movement occurs on all the joints except few joints. For example, there is no movement in skull bones. You cannot move skull bones. Now there is sacral. Sacral means just when your spine ends at your very lower back is sacral. Sternal is your breastbone, while hip bones are called as pelvic bones. So there is no movement in these joints, and the joints also provide stability. Now cartilage, I will describe cartilage later. So there are basically 4 types of joints which are given in class 6 NCERT. First is the ball and socket joint. Now what is a ball and socket joint? Basically you have a cavity which is hollow space. So for example your shoulder joint, and there is head or ball of a bone which is moving along that cavity. So example, shoulder joint will be such that. Hip joint also, where head is found by the femur while the ball is found by the pelvic bone. Okay, it provides huge range, so you can move your shoulder a lot. One of the most mobile joint in the human body. And hip joint also you can like rotate to a certain extent. Second is pivotal joint, which is called a pivot. So for example, neck is given as an example there, which is also a median atlantoaxial joint. What is atlantoaxial? These are the name of vertebra, C1 and C2, that is first and second vertebra, and median is from like the skull side. Okay. Now radioulnar joints is basically when you touch your forearm. Forearm is nothing between but the part of the hand which is between wrist and the arm, that is elbow and wrist, that is radioulnar joint. So on the thumb end side you have the bone called as radius, while at the little finger side the bone which is present is ulna. So when you like rotate, just try to hold a glass and try to drop the water in it. The movement which you will do is called as pronation and supination. So only rotation is allowed in this pivotal joint. Then third is the hinge joint. Now hinge joint is where movement is occurring only on one axis. So you cannot move your wrist sideways, right? So there is only on one axis where movement occurs. Similarly knee joint, so only either backward, forward. There is no second axis here. Now the fourth type of joint is fixed joint, which you cannot move at all. For example, skull joint, because upper jaw with the skull, like these are the joints where the movement is impossible. You cannot move your upper jaw no matter what you do unless you break it. Now again, like skeleton, what is a skeleton? It is a framework of bones in our body. It gives us shape. For example, when you do x-ray, whatever is visible, that is largely the skeleton. Rib cage. What is rib cage? Rib cage is obviously made up of ribs and sternum, and behind you have vertebral column. Total how many ribs we have? 24. Total how many ribs we have on one side? Answer is 12. Out of those 12, 7 are true ribs. Ribs which attach directly to sternum is called as true rib. 3 are false ribs. Ribs which attach to the 7th rib and then attach to the sternum are called as false ribs, while the ribs which do not attach at all and they keep on hanging are called as floating ribs. So total 12 into 2, 24 ribs plus one chest bone. You can just feel it just above your heart. You can feel that solid structure, and obviously you have vertebral column. Cool. So this is called as the rib cage. It is also called as thorax or thoracic cavity. Now we also have shoulder bones and pelvis making the skeleton, and the structure which are not as hard as the bones and which can be bent These are called as cartilages. So I hope you understood the important concepts now. Now body movements, let's talk about bones. So there are total 206 bones which I want you to like really know about. So basically the bones can be divided into two parts. One is 126 and other is 80. This 126 is called as appendicular skeleton while 80 is called as axial skeleton. Out of this appendicular skeleton, each and every limb has 30 bones. So I'll not go into details, but all the four limbs which you have, two legs and two arms and hands, upper limbs and lower limbs, you have 120 bones. Apart from them, you two collar bones which are called as clavicles, two shoulder blades which are called as scapulas, and two hip bones which are called as pelvis. So this makes the total 126. Similarly, 29 bones in your skull, which is like 22 in cranium, 6 in the inner ear, and 1 is hyoid bone. This is 29. 26 in the vertebral column, which is 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 1 sacral, and 1 coccygeal. Okay, this is 26. And finally, you have 24 ribs, as I have already spoken, and 1 is the sternum, that is the chest bone. This total gives you 80. So this 80 combined with this 126 is equals to 206. That is the total number of bones in an adult human being. Now you can see here. So this structure is called a skull. So skull has 29 bones. Each of these limbs you have, they have total 120 bones. This is the rib cage which you can see. This structure here is called a sternum. As you can see, these last two ribs are like just hanging here, so they are false ribs. As you can see, 8, 9 and 10 are attaching to the 7th rib, and then it is attaching to the sternum. So that is false rib and like hanging ribs, true ribs, false ribs and floating ribs. So total 24 is that. And as you can see, these are two collar bones. Behind they have two shoulder blades, and this is total pelvis. So this is what makes total 206 bones. Okay. So when muscle, they contract and then they bulge, so the movement happens. So when you contract your biceps in gym, it becomes short, it becomes stiff, and it becomes thick. And muscles always work in pairs and tandem, like individual muscles will not be able to do the movement properly, and one will contract, other will relax. So for example, if you flex your hand and you bring closer your arm and forearm, it means biceps is contracting and triceps is relaxing. And when you do the opposite movement, it is the vice versa. And muscles can only pull, they cannot push. And as I have already spoken, at least two muscles are required to work for movement on a joint. And it's some information about earthworm. It has muscles, it has no bones, it has tiny bristle-like hairs, and it eats soils. It's called as farmer's friend because it decomposes, it produces very good. Okay, so like it improves the fertility of the soil, and it move forward and excrete the soil and the other organic material, which is very good for the productivity. Snail have just one shell which is dragged by strong foot muscles, and cockroaches have 3 pairs of legs. Each and every insect has 3 pairs of legs, and it can walk, it can climb, it can fly, and it has thick exoskeleton with joints. This is also asked a lot of time. Now birds have pneumatic. Pneumatic means filled with air, which means hollow bones, and they have very strong muscles. While fishes have very small head and tail, and they have streamlined bodies. Okay, so they produce a series of jerks and strong muscles, and their tail will assist in the direction, and their fins will help in the balance. So that is how fishes move. Now to like minimize the water current and all these things so that they can move faster. Now snakes will slither. This is the movement of snake. It will form loops, okay, something like that, and it will give forward push by pressing against the ground, and it moves sideways, and it never moves in a straight line, as you might have seen. And it has a long backbone, it has small muscles and interconnecting backbone, ribs and skin. So that is about snakes. So thank you for watching this lesson. We will continue with the next part.